Okay, let's see what the map has in store for us this time. Carbon is usable once again for a scavenger. We saw a low and a high being utilized just fine in order to win the game. Only 3 geotherms this time. Those might be contested quite heavily. Plenty of water and ice scattered about this map. That should not be a concern. Aluminum, though, is looking a bit awkward. There's only one great source of it. So people are going to have to take that into consideration based on what they do. Gameslayer found very quickly takes the aluminum more than the carbon. That's what he's interested in right now. He wants that aluminum that everyone else is going to be using. He'll likely want to use that to just make money, push on through. Worth noting once again that claims are available. We'll have to see if we see a replication of Qubit's strategy from last game at a Gameslayer, focusing on making that money early rather than focusing on upgrading quickly. Soren is going to found robotic and try to ignore the aluminum situation. Qubit also goes scavenger, just a pair of low tiles over to him. And he chooses to buy up an awful lot of water right as he gets founded. Interesting. He also is going to be the one to take the other high aluminum. So 2 players grabbing up the aluminum. The other 2 players saying, I don't want to have to care that you have the aluminum. Certainly a solid response out of them, I believe. Even on this map flooded with water, avoiding the expansive situation that would have come from needing aluminum. Almost certainly a good decision. Blues is in fact going to make a power play, which is, it's going to be a little bit weak, but you have to say he didn't seem like he was left with too many options. Iron was going to be awkward no matter what. Going expansive would have been very difficult. Going scientific would have been very difficult on this map as well. Not something he wanted to have to bother with, especially with pirates available. He couldn't take any risks setting down steel separated from his base, and so this is pretty much just what was left by the time he got to see the map and got to the point of founding. Interesting. Gameslayer, in fact, moving into power immediately. These should be strong power tiles. No doubt about that. These are, I believe, the second best they can be, basically, based on the amount of adjacency they have and such. Not quite perfect wind tiles, but very, very close. And so this is a great idea for Gameslayer here. He's just like, all right, I'm going to take all this aluminum, make sure nobody else can get it, but I'm not going to rely on it. I'm going to go ahead and make that move into wind turbines. The problem is he has $40,000 of debt. So those tiles, while not dead, are just more keeping him alive in exchange for his early found. And you have to wonder if getting the exact spot he wanted was worth not being able to utilize it effectively once everybody else had responded. Shortage coming in on fuel. Gameslayer is choosing to buy into that. Qubit avoiding it, it would seem. We'll have to see how effectively that actually makes him any money. I don't think he even sold out of it before the short actually happened, then bought back in. Very indecisive over there is Gameslayer. Soren up in his corner. On the other hand, he has enough iron, not quite enough iron to actually keep going, even though he has some more right next to his base. He chose to commit, in fact, to 2 aluminum tiles, and I have to say, I think this was a very poor decision out of Soren. He did not need this aluminum as a robotic player. It kind of injures what he wanted to do this game. Like, one of the things you accomplish in founding as robotic, you don't get to completely ignore aluminum, but it does reduce that price. And so then committing 2 tiles so far away from your base in order to get it, I think that's a very questionable decision, and I can't agree with it at all. So we'll have to see how Soren manages to move on from there. Gameslayer has gotten himself up to HQ level 3 first, once again getting out ahead of the pack. Hasn't managed to actually pay down any debt with this power just yet. Power's not really out of control. It's maintaining a fairly moderate price, as would be expected in a game with a power robot. So we'll just have to see how that goes for him as we move through the game. Dynamite auction, kind of hard to value at this stage of the game, but later on, being able to suddenly blow up an opponent's offworld when they're not suspecting could be quite valuable. It is going to be Qubit who values that the most. No big surprise. He is generally the most aggressive player of the lot. Although I am surprised it went for only 3,000. Everybody else not so interested. Now, that said, Blues, of course, can't take the auction. It cuts into his money too much, especially when power is already this low this game. And Soren he's not as aggressive as a player most of the time. Unless he's actively playing scavenger, he doesn't really look to cause problems for other people, it would seem.
Not a problem. We'll have this done.
Oh man.
I just need to locate
this water shortage. Cubit's going to be the first one to be able to respond to this effectively as he gets an upgrade while the shortage is going out. He also got a little bit of extra cash on hand from it. So that's going to be nice for him. Nobody else really pulling in as much water for the time being. Although there is plenty of it available to expand into on this map. Blues is going to be our final player up to HQ level 3. He's actually choosing to commit to even more power, which I'm a little bit concerned about. It's good money, don't get me wrong, but power prices are already dropping during the day before this solar panel comes online. So with it, I'm worried he's going to overwhelm the market and create a situation where he's forced to transition uncomfortably, and that would be very unfortunate for Blues. I do like that he's moving into all the water next to his base in response to this shortage. He can easily make a lot of money from that and try and quickly move up to HQ level 4. However, he's only catching up to Gameslayer as Gameslayer continues to push through upgrades very, very effectively. He does, of course, have 4.5 carbon a second to Qubit's 3. Certainly proving helpful as carbon has maintained a fairly high price throughout this game. At least much higher than we would expect it to be at this point.
Pirates. I hate those filthy bandits.
This is an interesting bit of an auction. Qubit trying to direct attention away from himself, which is, yeah, not really what you're after. So Soren choosing to take on 8,000 debt and paying just 2,000 for that, rather than paying the full $10,000 in cash he would have needed to bribe a claim. Probably a good use of an auction there. A nice way to take advantage of the fact that you're in the corner of the map in an undesirable location. Just be like, alright, I'll just auction tiles because people won't fight over it too hard in the fear that I'll let them have the useless spot. It's a nice little move. Certainly like to see it. Gameslayer identifying that Qubit is the one that tries to throw people away from... That most often accuses people of being Qubit, quite frankly. It is just a very Qubit strategy. Carbon being stolen from Gameslayer, certainly a good thing to see by those pirates. They're gone now, having gotten their full fill, but still, carbon was pretty valuable in that moment, and certainly will stay that. It's not super valuable right now, but it'll continue to grow more and more and more as these scavengers push to HQ level 5. Blue's sitting on an awful lot of cash right now. And you could say that's because he might be trying to get aggressive. You could also just say it's because steel costs $100 a piece. And Soren seems is holding on to his steel and utilizing it rather than selling it down, possibly understanding that Blues... Whoa, here we go, shortage. Massive Marsquake. And, oh man, bad timing for Blues. He was sitting on so much cash, he could have easily utilized this Marsquake as a general shortage. Been like, alright, I get a lot of cash, I'm just going to buy chems or something random like that to make a lot of money, delay that upgrade momentarily. Instead, he just upgrades. And when steel was already so expensive, Soren, please tell me you've got... He's only got 4 steel mills down, and there's not great adjacency for them either. I guess that's partially because even with only 4 steel mills, he just doesn't have the iron set aside to keep making steel. That's going to make things so difficult for Soren and Blues throughout this game. Just that iron price, there's no way to really knock it down effectively beyond taking more iron. Yeah, you could build a hacker array, but isn't that just a little awkward? Not exactly what you want to be doing. Whoa, Gameslayer. He says, I know who Qubit is. It's that guy who's acting like Qubit. Maybe we should do something about him. Hoping that everybody else will jump on board, Soren is more than happy to get involved. Blues, on the other hand, he's just sitting back on his cash. He says, no, I'm going to go for a hacker array. Interestingly enough, Blues choosing not to go for the kill. That does mean the Gameslayer is going to get 4 of Qubit stock, whereas Soren is sitting back merely on 2. Now, that's not a great buy. It's a level 4 headquarters. It doesn't actually get a whole lot done. But I'm sure everybody else is going to be happy to see that they don't have to deal with another scavenger this game. Especially in the form of Qubit. Man, I can't words today. Obviously, Herbert is Herbert or Clark or Bradbury. Yeah, there you go. Sure. Thinking machines for auction. That's an interesting one. Offworld prices are pretty strong in this game with oxygen at least. Nobody has really pushed to a patent lab just yet, so nobody's really prioritizing anything this game, but thinking machines can still be very, very, very valuable, especially considering there's still a scavenger left in play and mutinies ready to go with spies, which could be quite dangerous. 18,000 is a pretty reasonable amount. Gameslayer going to keep pushing to 20. It's obviously nice for Gameslayer to take this in particular because it means that he is free to attack everyone else as he chooses. Not going to go for it just yet, though. Blues is going to be the one to end up with thinking machines. $28,000 is what he had to pay for that. That could be pretty darn important. No dynamite this game. If there was, it could just exacerbate Blue's situation of not having good access to steel because there just isn't good steel. So it is certainly nice to see in some ways that he picked up thinking machines. Just he'll be well protected. It'd be worse if there was dynamite. It'd be more valuable if there was dynamite. But thinking machines should still stay valuable to defend against power surges and mutinies. Apparently a whole week of this is wearing on me, guys. That's all I can say about it. Blues has saved up quite a lot of cash once again. Gameslayer is going to have to be concerned about buying up his own stock immediately, I think. He pushed to an awful lot of money. Blues is just sitting here hacking away best that he can. Obviously, with this freeze going down, it's not going well, but Gameslayer, he has to be worried. Playing very, very aggressively this game, and he is just not sitting on any amount of actual cash. On top of that, Soren is successfully defending himself. Whoa! That's one way to approach the situation. Very, very dangerous, though. I don't know if Gameslayer... I mean, Gameslayer just doesn't have the money. He doesn't have the money for this move.
Your stock is being bought.
Well, what did you expect to see, honestly? A person who had defended himself?
Your stock is being bought.
Gameslayer taking a gamble and being upset when somebody else doesn't cooperate with him. I don't know what you expect to see. But it does look like he is going to get knocked out of this game in mere moments.
I just need to locate some spare parts.
Goodbye, Gameslayer. Well, needed to defend himself. Instead, he gets aggressive and just gets knocked down. Soren, on the other hand, playing it through more cautiously. Now, this does leave Soren in still an awkward position. Very, very awkward position. Because, of course, Blues has secured an awful lot of stock on the back of this hacker array. I'm so glad we finally saw the hacker array getting used, by the way. This is just an extremely valuable building that just hasn't been utilized properly yet. Like this entire tournament, basically. And so it is good to see it coming into play and easily getting the kill on the Gameslayer.
10,000, 12,000,
Oh, these guys. Soren's going to be struggling from here. There's no doubt about it. The big advantage that he has is that he's already HQ level 5, and he still has control of iron and steel. In particular. Those are his strengths. Blues made the right call in how to respond to the fact that he didn't have steel to use to upgrade and take extra tiles or anything of that sort. But he still has to play the game out from here, and he's still in an awkward spot. Neither player he took out is going to be making iron or steel, as they were both scavengers, so even as a subsidiary, they don't contribute to this in any way. If Soren can keep a hold of that market, if he can move into his own hacker array and abuse it even more, if he can maybe push to those off-worlds before Blues has a chance to get a whole lot done, it could work out very well for him. Blues, on the other hand, he's staying aggressive. He says, you don't have the cash to kill me. I just want to keep using this hacker array. Let's see. Here comes the glass short. Blue sitting on 73,000. You can see that jumping up by the second. Well, not particularly effective. The glass short, now he's got it started again. Here it comes. $300 value. Look at this cash. Just look at it flow in. It's not a huge amount, to be fair, but it is enough to make a difference. The question is, what does Blues do with it when he's done? Almost $125,000 he's got available, 130. Not enough to push to the kill just yet, but certainly enough to get a lot of damage done if he wanted to. And it is quite possible he's just going to keep sitting on that glass, not caring, just keep hacking. Hack Array will let you do that quite easily. Wrong target, Soren. Giving him more glass, not so much of a concern. Letting him raise the price of that glass, that's what you got to be worried about in particular. Difficult thing to keep in mind, but certainly very, very important. Soren has chosen to get aggressive first. My concern about this is I don't think he has the cash for it, and on top of that, Blues delaying this aggression really doesn't hurt him all that badly. Yeah, Soren just selling out immediately after. Soren! Make up your mind, Soren! Stop misclicking. I'm gonna assume that was a misclick since he bought back into it almost immediately. Only 11,000 is a dividend from GameSlayer, but that's still quite a bit of cash. Definitely something to be worried about. Blues just playing it out patiently. He knows that he can be patient here. Absolutely. I believe that's exactly the right call. Soren, meanwhile, he chose to get aggressive very quickly, which means he's been bringing that steel price down, allowing Blues to make these transitions. I would have much rather seen him jack that steel price up and then try and force awkward situations out of Blues by doing weird things to like the price of silicon, by using his own hacker arrays to create a difficult situation. That's what I would have really liked to see, personally. Nonetheless, it's not what came to pass. We're just sitting here waiting for Blues to use this hacker array. That's most of what we're doing right now. He's not actually in it anymore. He's chosen to commit a lot of that cash into defending himself, which could have been the right call. You can see he still has a massive advantage in cash, in stock, in subsidiary value. Things are just not looking too good for Soren at this moment. He's never taken an edge anywhere. Instead, he was trying to respond by making his own glass, which is a fair thought. You can see it's working out reasonably well. But it's just not going to get the job done, I believe, at the end of the day.
The black market is online.
Very, very awkward situation indeed. On top of that, Soren keeps having to sell down iron, especially because he's not making steel anymore. It's just a very, very awkward situation for him, all told. Now Blues is finally starting to get aggressive. Soren choosing to defend himself as well, but I think when all is said and done here, we'll see that Blues has the very, very clear advantage, despite being on HQ level 4 to 5. Soren just doesn't have any edge anywhere to abuse his headquarter advantage. On top of that, he's very vulnerable to things like power surges, which have gotten quite expensive finally, and he's just not set up in particularly strong territory. Never able to really move into an Offworld, never moving into his own hacker array, just the one engineering lab constructed, and all that's been doing is making iron cheaper, just in case Blues decides, hey, maybe making steel would be nice. I think I'll try that. Yep, Blues with a very clear stock advantage at this point. Very clear cash advantage. And this hacker array just continuing to work away the best that it can. Shorting food is a nice idea. He knows that Soren's not going to be in that at all. Clearly, I think Kim's would have been the better call, quite frankly, as of course, subsidiaries are just going to constantly be reducing that price of food this whole time. For the most part. Well, GameSlayer didn't have any down. I will say that.
8,000.
But Qubit's still producing more than enough to help compensate. It's a very, very strange decision, I think, to go for the food instead of the chems. New claim. What are we going to value this at, guys? It's just debt you're paying, and neither of them are dying to debt anytime soon.
14,000.
So this could potentially be a particularly valuable claim.
16,000.
That steel price. I'm just saying. That steel price. One nice thing about having this hacker array and abusing his money advantage is that Blues can far more easily force transitions out of Soren than Soren can out of Blues, which means Blues ends up being the one to take advantage of the ridiculous steel price. And if he can, like, just bounce from... Oh, wow. That's not what Soren needed right now. A hack in favor of Blues. Certainly a negative thing. Just a random colony leak results in depressurization, which apparently gets rid of a whole bunch of food. Blues going for a patent lab. Seriously? Oh, okay, that's what happened here. He took over the patent lab of Soren's, which I guess is now a patent lab instead of an engineering. Well, whatever. Very confusing when you've got holograms scattered about. Soren buying shares of Gameslayer's stock, that's a bit of a concern. Like, Soren's been buying an awful lot of subsidiary stock in an effort to make money from them and raise his own stock value, but I don't think that's going to work out the way he wants, unfortunately. Having higher stock value is nice, but at the end of the day, you need cash to kill your opponent, and subsidiaries, they just don't make you enough to be worth it, I think, once they've died off. As you can see, dividend revenue has been good. 150,000 here, 100,000 there, but it's way too late, I think, to be buying into these things. Think about how much cash got spent just to secure all those shares. And they're not going to be making all that much in return. I'm definitely a bit concerned about it. I might have the wrong of it if the game lasts long enough, but I doubt that's going to be the case as Blues is pushing more and more and more toward finishing off this game and the series. Still down on HQ level 4. Says, nah, I don't need 5. We're all good down here. Don't worry about it. My hacker array will see us on through. On top of that, I'm betting Blues was buying up claims like crazy. So the upgrade advantage, not necessarily near as good as it might look. We can check black market and see, well, Blues only got the 1. Soren actually himself got 3. But still, it seems that Blues is being far more effective at utilizing his territory effectively. Maybe just with a strong found next to silicon and water, things have stayed easy. Whereas Soren, he founded near nothing. So he's got all these tiles scattered about that he has much more difficulty utilizing. 467,000, still what Blues is pushing to. He is currently at 432. Finally, we do see that chem hack come down, although Soren does have those available to him. Well, he's there, I believe. Just after this sell, I think we're going to have Blues go ahead and take it. Red button, and that'll do it. So Blues, in a mere 3 games, the person I called out as, man, he needs to fix what he's doing. Well, apparently he did, and he is going to end up taking it 2-1 to 0-0. Oh, man. So painful, says Gameslayer. Gameslayer, he just doesn't play defensively enough, is what we've seen in these past couple of games. He made one aggressive move that game, and everybody piled in, and then he expected the second to work out the same way against someone who had like $120,000 saved up. Definitely a risky move. Definitely a risky move. Yeah, day 9, no Offworlds, no HQ level 5 for Blues. Definitely an awkward situation that he played around better than everybody else. Going into this hacker array was absolutely the right decision in this game. No doubt about it. No doubt about it whatsoever. He did make the mistake of starting an Offworld. Well, at least he had the presence of mind to cancel it. That, I think, would have been a grievous error for him this game. And as you can see, Soren, he was just always had to be so worried about getting killed off that he was never really in a position to go off-world himself. I do worry that Soren maybe could have utilized the fact that he had control of iron and steel more effectively. That is the big opening that I think he had that he didn't go ahead and use. Iron getting sold was a huge help, says Blues. Absolutely. Like, look at this steel. There was no reason for that to happen, realistically. That is my concern. I don't think, like, getting one tech in iron maybe was a good idea, But after that, it could have been something like steel or anything else, and I think it would have gone better. Alright. To be fair, Game Slayer, you made plenty of mistakes yourself too. Let's just be honest here. Cubit, on the other hand, I don't know if it was mistakes, it was just maybe... It was a difficult map, it was a poor found in a lot of ways. Maybe these geotherms were a mistake way out here. Those are hard to get money back from. And he just never got going fast enough to avoid being killed. Well, guys, that is going to go ahead and wrap our series up. Very well done by Blues. Definitely very well done. He played it out correctly, no doubt about it. He didn't even stay particularly aggressive. He was just like, I'm just going to use my money to make more money. I don't need anything else. I don't need to commit to anything else. But it's always nice to see someone win a series, in my opinion, on the back of a game that strange, because it just shows that they're more adaptable than everyone else was. They understood kind of the strangeness of the map and how to play around it a bit better, perhaps, even when forced into such an awkward position as going power robot against double scavenger. He still managed to pull it out. I mean, there's no doubt that that was a good win. All right.